So we have come to a stage where I guess we should start modeling the actual character. So the map has been put out with a decent sense of scale. So obviously the proportions are perfect because we took it from the reference image. But our actual character over here is not what we want. We want the actual Pacman character. So let's go ahead and model him. Now, this is just a shortcut that I like to use. Since Unreal has modeling tools, Pacman is not really a game where you'd want to be putting majority of your efforts modeling. So what we can do now is we'll just head into our modeling mode and I'll drag in a sphere over here. So just drag in a sphere, and I think the scale is actually, not going to lie, almost perfect. So maybe I'll make it slightly bigger so that it's a little more visible. So first I'll raise it up a little, and radius maybe I'll make it 65, or maybe 60 is more than enough. So 60 seems like a reasonable radius, so Pacman can easily go through every wall. Alright, and I'll hit accept for now. Now the trick that I'm going to use is, rather than imagining this as a full sphere, I'm going to divide this into two hemispheres and we're just going to animate that. So let me show you guys how to do that. So first of all, we'll head into the polygroup edit tool. And if you notice something, the sphere is not detailed enough. So that's because many of these edges and faces have been grouped into one. So if you actually take a look at wireframe mode, it is actually a full blown sphere. It's just that the grouping is like this. The way you can tackle this is you can head in here, and if you just go ahead and check, there is an option called decompose under the face edit section. So that is going to actually split each one of this. So what I'll do is I'll just select all of this. So I'll just drag and select. Oops. So I'll drag select all of this. Right. So I'll just ensure that everything has been selected. Now what I'll do is I'll hit decompose. Now accept it. And now if you head into polygroup edit, now we should have what we exactly want. Now just for convenience sake, what I'll do is I'll just move this sphere out of the way so that I can edit it freely. And what I'm going to do now is I'll head into any of the side views. So that will be, let's say, left view. So left is the sphere is behind, so I'll go to right view. So can't really find the sphere, so we have the sphere over here. What I'll do is now I'll head into polygroup edit and I will select a face. So I'll just select one random face over here. Now what I'll do is I'll hold shift and I'll select every other face until we select half of the sphere. So how do you know it's half is when you get to see a straight line and hit delete. Now if you head back into perspective, you would notice that we have a hole here. That's pretty easy to fix, to be honest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into the right view. So I'll head back into the right view and I'll just select this edge over here and I'll hold shift and I'll select all these edges. I'll hold control and I'll deselect all these edges. Now if I head back, we have selected this entire edge loop. In a software like Blender, there are other shortcuts to do that as well. Now what you can do is over here you have an option called fill hole, and this is going to fill it for you. Actually this is not the best possible thing, because if you take a look at wireframe mode, okay, not much is visible, but it's actually not done a good job with the UVs and stuff. So we have an alternative. We'll actually be smarter in handling that. So we'll accept the edit. And just one more thing that I would like to do is I'd like to just re-triangulate. So I'll head into, we'll do that later actually. Now if you actually go ahead and take a look at the UVs, so I'll open the UVs, just hit UV unwrap, and then I'll just head into the UV editor. You'll notice something that this isn't really the best possible thing that could happen. Anyways, that doesn't really matter. because we'll be using a very smart trick to actually get the colors and stuff, right? So our goal here is to make this portion red, the bottom portion, and this upper portion yellow, and then we'll just animate it. Now over here, what you're going to do is just click on this translate button, and now just scale this slightly. So we are going to scale this. Oops, that's the move tool. So I'm going to scale this, and I'll just move this to the top left corner. You can choose any of the other corners. You'll understand why. You can choose any of the other corners. Just make sure this is the only thing in the first quadrant. So as far as I can see, that is in fact the only thing in the first quadrant. So I'll just hit apply, and I'll close the editor. Nothing much seems to have changed, but that doesn't really matter. What I'll do now is I'll go ahead and create a new material, and I'm going to call this m underscore Pacman mat. So Pacman, okay, this is fairly good, and I'll drag this into element 0. Now we are going to use a little bit of a visual trickery over here. Now I'll drag in a constant tree vector, and this is going to be yellow, of course. So I'll make this yellow. I have flux on, so I can't see the actual color, so I'll disable that. So I have a yellow, and I'll also have a shade of red or pink, so kind of reddish pink maybe, somewhere around there. So that will be the mouth of Pacman. So this is a little too pink for my taste. So this should be good. Basically, we want the top left where we had the UVs. So if we actually take a look at the UVs, we want the top left of the texture to be red and rest to be yellow. So how do we do that? So we can make use of the texture coordinate. Now this is something which we may not have talked about in the actual course, but congratulations, you made it so far. So now we'll talk about this a little more. What you'll notice if you actually expand this is that on the top left there is absolutely nothing, and as you go right, the amount of red increases. As you go down, the amount of green increases. So this is a value between 0 and 1. So a high concentration of red would imply a high value on the red channel. So if I type in mask, you'll get a component mask. I can actually get the red mask. Now what you'd notice is you get a texture something like this. So these values actually range from 0 up until 1. You can actually also do it for the green channel. So if I duplicate this, now you'd notice it goes vertically. So 0 and the bottommost part is 1. We can utilize this. What does this mean? This means that the middle part is 0.5. And this middle part in the green channel is 0.5. So we can use this to compare the actual texture coordinate and actually determine which color to put. Let's put that in practice. So I'll just grab an if statement. So I'm doing this in the traditional programming way. So first we'll grab the red mask. So if the red mask, so this is horizontal, is less than 0.5, so we'll say 0.5, we'll hard code that value. So if it is less than 0.5, what we are going to do is we are going to choose the red color. As simple as that. Alright, A less than B, we are going to choose the red color. Otherwise, we'll choose yellow. You'll see one problem with this, and I will tell you what will happen. So just pause for a second and think what's going to happen. So I'm assuming you have thought it over. What will happen is this will only affect this horizontally. So the left part will be red and the right part will be yellow. But there is no effect in the vertical direction. So if I just do this, you'd notice that it's half and half. So if I make this a plane, this is probably much better. So you can see what's happening. What we want is this quadrant as well on the bottom left to become yellow. That's fairly simple. Wherever we have red, we'll do another if check. Now, if A is less than B, we will now check for the green mask. So if the green mask is greater than 0.5, we'll still use yellow. But now, if the green mask is less than 0.5, only then we want to use red. And if A is equal to B, I mean you can choose anything. so that doesn't really matter. So whatever you choose, I mean, nothing's going to happen. It won't be visible. But now, if you notice, we have the material ready. Now, this is a dirty way to do it. We are just doing this so that we can avoid the animation. But nonetheless, this is going to work. Alright. Now, if I go ahead and drag this into our hemisphere, if you come down, you'd actually notice that this is actually red. And if you were to rotate this, you'd notice it's actually red. But there's one problem, the pivot is not aligned. So we'll just head into this X form section and edit the pivot, set it to center, set it to bottom, and hit accept. So that will be the base of the hemisphere. Now it's going to rotate at the center of the base of the hemisphere. So that's exactly what we want. Now let's make this a little more reflective, add some variation and do that sort of stuff. So in order to make it reflective, what I'll do is I'll just set specular to be a little higher. So I can set this to something 0.8. And if you notice, this looks kind of, it's not glossy, but it lost a little bit of that roughness. But if I reduce my roughness to 0.2, now you see it's going to shine. Alright, I'll set it to maybe 0.2 itself, maybe metallic to 0.2 or something. So that's about it. We don't want Pacman to look metallic, so maybe 0.1 is sufficient. Of course, this is subjective, you can set it to whatever you want. Now in order to add variation, this is what I'm going to do. There actually exists a bunch of textures in the starter content itself, which have quite a bit of variation. So if you take a look, there is T concrete tiles variation, and there should be few more. There should be few more nice ones. So we have Berlin noise. So this is something we can use, and I'm pretty sure there are more variation textures out here. You just search this around. So what we can do is we can use this Berlin noise, and then there's one macro variation. Okay, let's go ahead and experiment with these two. So open up the material and just drag these two textures in. So we'll get it as a texture sample. So let's try the Berlin noise first. What we can do is we can go ahead and linear interpolate this. If you guys remember the linear interpolate video, you would know what I'm talking about. So we can use this texture as a way to blend between two colors. So I'll copy this and I'll make this one, let's say, a little more dark, or maybe I can make this very dark. Maybe a little something like this. So something nice maybe. Okay. I guess this should be good. Of course, this is subjective. You can change that. If you want a little more variation, you can do that as well. Now what you can do is you can use this along with your linear interpolate node. So if you type in lerp, you're going to get a linear interpolate node. So this is basically going to blend between A and B using this as the alpha. Alpha is kind of like at what point you want to be between these. So 0.5 in the sense between, okay, let's say I change this to 0 and 2. So 0.5 alpha is going to return 1 over here, because 0.5, so that is 50% of this range is going to be 1. Alright, so now what I'll do is I'll connect this to the linear interpolate, and I'll connect this to A, this to B. And for the alpha, if you notice, it's not 0.5, so it's kind of just getting the average of these two colors. So what I can do is I can grab this texture instead. So now if you notice, you get a little bit of variation, and this looks very realistic. So that's the reason you'd want to add this. Okay, so I guess we can use this Berlin noise. It looks pretty good. And you can do the same for the red as well. So for the red as well, you can grab in a little more of a pinkish shade, and you can linear interpolate. So we'll use the exact same logic. So grab this inside the linear interpolate node. This will be A and this will be B, and we can plug the same texture into alpha. Now if you take a look, we actually have a bit of variation. Of course, the red will probably be a little more harder to see, but if you exaggerate the color, you're probably going to see that. So as you see that variation over there. So kind of this pinkish red is appropriate for this. So I guess this is a little too pink, so we'll make this little more on the red side. And now if you were to head back and check this out, so I'll just hit play, and if you would see, we have this variation over here. So this gives it a little more of a realistic feel. Now that we have this, we can head in and just add a little bit of variation. This is completely optional based on how you want this. So we can try few things. Such as using the displacement. So head into polygroup edit, and rather instead of polygroup edit, you can go to deform, and you can hit displace. This way, this is kind of exaggerated. So you can make this something like 0.1 or something very small. You shouldn't make this too much. So make this 0.2, maybe 0.5. So as you see, this is kind of giving it a more realistic feel. So 0.4. So I guess 0.3 would be proper. So I'm kind of happy with this. 0.2 is probably better. Alright. So you can just give it a little bit of displacement. You can also use the sculpt tool and maybe modify the shape, but I'm not going to get into that. One thing that will happen is maybe you'll find small artifacts over here, but we'll fix that nonetheless. Alright, so we have half of it ready. For the other half, you just alt drag this, and as you see, we have Pacman. So we can just go ahead and we can just keep rotating this guy, and we can get the animation that we want.